Are we ready?
We're ready.
All right. Dad jeans. Dad jeans.
If you're not hearing about a city in today's climate, then that means that they're probably doing okay.
I know that's probably true. Yeah, I heard about a guy who was in boot camp, and on the last day of his boot camp, the drill sergeant came up to him and was like, "Who the hell are you? What is your name? Have you been here the whole time?" And he was like, "Yeah, I've been here the whole time." And then the drill sergeant was like, "That is how to do boot camp."
Wait, did you just tell a joke?
The drill sergeant?
No, was that a joke that you just told?
No, that actually happened.
Okay. The way you introed it, it was like I'd never seen such a dad situation in my entire life. When you're like, so you hear about this old guy? He's in boot camp, right?
Seems there was this fella.
Seems there was this guy, and then you get into talking about like the I don't know, the intricacies of a logarithm or something like that. That's how you start out your speech to the
Right.
to the Middle Managers Conference of America that you're at. So there's this old guy. He's in boot camp.
Funny thing about that. The Peter Principle is real, and it is ruining all of our lives, and it has been since the 1970s. Have you noticed over the course of our living lifetimes, things have gotten worse and worse?
I absolutely have, and this is a fascinating topic of discussion, and I don't want to lose anything, so I'm going to start out and say, hello, we are Dad Jeans. I am Jeffrey Dinsmore.
And I'm Brendan Hughes.
And we are the dads who compose the jeans, the dads and the jeans.
We have interwoven directly into the jeans with the Mylar and whatever else they put in jeans.
just pretty much the Mylar. We're at the Mylar level.
And listeners, we treasure your listenership.
Yes, and if you are a Patreon subscriber at the Mylar level, here's what you'll get. No, tell me about the Peter Principle, because this isn't the failing up principle. There's a lot of principles happening today. What is the Peter Principle?
It's similar to the failing up principle, but it is basically that I think if somebody does, the people who are promoted generally are the ones that please their bosses and tell them what they want to hear. So once you get all the way up to the highest level, it's only people that know how to bright side everything. And they don't actually know how to butter toast. They don't know how to tell the truth to each other. They're completely obtuse human beings. And then you get Donald Trump sitting across from that Australian fella who gave him the what for, who just doesn't understand why he would want to look at any statistics that aren't positive.
Right. Oh, which speaking of, we got to get into newspapers at some point in the near future. But how does this differ from the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Oh, the Dunning-Kruger effect, I believe, is when someone is so incompetent at their job, they're too incompetent to understand how incompetent they are.
Yes. So, but those people fail up as well. So at the very top, are we seeing a bunch of incompetent people whose only skill is kissing ass?
Yes.
Like, is that what we're saying here?
Absolutely. Add that to nepotism, and basically the American experiment on an economic level is a complete disaster.
Absolutely. What a great place to start this episode.
I totally agree. The way to immigrate to Canada is you have to take an English test. And the English test, and I looked into this, not that I'm thinking about immigrating to Canada right around the election before the Civil War breaks out or anything like that, but I did stumble upon the website.
We're not winking at each other right now either.
We're certainly not winking. And no. I'm not making my nipple wink.
I don't know how you could. But I'm impressed. Is that a side effect of gynecomastia?
It actually, it is. The ability to make one nipple wink at a time. I'm constantly winking at people, but they don't realize it. Unless they do, and they're winking back at me, and I don't realize it.
Shirt wink.
So you have to take an English test, but guess what? All the English tests are booked to move to Canada.
No kidding.
There's a movement afoot north.
Well, okay, I will say that's great, but also like every appointment for everything is booked because the world has gone incompetent.
Yeah. And everyone is just looking for things to make an appointment with just because they're desperate to have appointments.
Exactly. It's Peter's all the way down. Just waiting to get into the DMV. Guess I'll go to the DMV. What else to do? What else is there to do?
What else am I doing? Maybe I'll sign up for this root canals in you workshop.
Why not? My father pointed out.
I'm a big fan. Hi, Dennis.
Hello, Dennis. Nice to hear, or not hear you, I guess. Nice to talk into your ear. There are great swaths of the Canadian-U.S. border that are completely unpatrolled. Like, you just pop up in, one of those northern states, and you can just cross over the border, and now you're a Canadian.
They have less than 100 days to secure that shit. Because they're going to start to hear just like the sounds of machine guns and screaming.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be like a plague of locusts, a plague of Americans descends upon Canada.
Little dark. Maybe I'll brightside this thing. But this is why I don't advance in institutions. This is why I don't stand with institutions, Jeff, because the Peter Principle overlooks me.
I mean, I guess you're right about that. I don't know what happens when you get to the top and you're there's no more asses to kiss. What happens then? Is that must be a different principle?
Yeah, or your ass gets lonely, and then finally it's ready to be kissed itself. It's kissed all the people on the way up, and now it's like my turn.
You have to kiss your own ass. It's the Ouroboros. The Peter Ouroboros.
Yeah, right.
Everyone at the top kissing their own asses.
Aurora Borealis. That's when light shoots out of your ass, I think, while you're kissing it.
I think we should get into our segments.
Oh, I think that's a fine idea.
Because we're trying to hone this into a well-crafted beast is what we're doing.
I love where your head's at.
I also threw you for a loop. I sprung a woody on you.
Oh, yes. You're going to have to unpack that term because I think of springing a woody as something totally different than what you did this morning.
Oh no, I made it up on the spot, but that's a new term that we're all gonna have to use now. When you spring something on someone out of left field, that's called springing a woody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it comes from. It just popped out of my head. This gorgeous creative brain that you get to interact with,
and
Brendan,
I do,
is just spewing things into the universe.
Jeffrey, if only I could lick that brain.
I don't care for that.
Nice and briny.
I got to get better at my. I think I got to get better at my my stone face. I noticed a lot of giggling on last week's episode. Maybe it was because we were just so tickled to be with each other. So
giddy and excited. Yes. Okay. So we'll just be very serious.
Yeah, there will be no external laughter.
Okay. I think that sounds fine.
So for our first segment, you have listed Grave New World / newspapers. Mm-hmm. How are you planning on? Is this a double segment? Are we doing both theme songs? What are we doing here?
Jeffrey, I like to embody paradox. I like to present both arguments and not choose one and hope someone else in the room has more of a spine than me and decide and will decide better. So I like to present options and then cower. I can't decide. How about, since we did Grave New World last week, let's do newspapers this week.
A lot of stuff going on over here, over there. We're gonna tell you about the world, cause the world is important. Newspapers, we peep the news.
We're peeping the news, ladies and gentlemen.
We are peeping said news. And there's a lot to discuss. There's much going on in the world right now.
It's a never-ending shit show. Oh, now that's the Grave New World theme song. Sorry.
Right. So this is slightly interchangeable.
Okay. That's fine.
Right. So we're all sitting in our houses now, and we're all staring at our children who want to know when it is that we'll finally play hide and seek, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But meanwhile, the world is crumbling down around us and behind us and beside us and on the outside of our walls. And how much, Jeffrey, is the question is, are we beholden to the news outside, as it is basically letting cigarette smoke into our homes to let any information about Donald Trump into our heads and into our homes and into our marital conversations?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question because you said Beholden, and I just couldn't stop thinking Beholden Caulfield.
Oh, which would be a great band.
That is a great band.
That's sort of an emo aughts, like mid-aughts emo band.
Yeah, exactly. Beholden Caulfield. I love it. Okay, wait. So, rephrase. Hit me with your rhythm stick one more time, Daddy.
Okay. I have a couple of issues. We both have a lot of issues with the way the news is reported. It drives me up the mother scratching wall.
Up and down and over again.
Yes. The way the media refuses to treat Donald Trump like the person he actually is, and instead they treat him like the president of the United States, as if he has automatic depth because he's president. He doesn't have any depth because he's Donald Trump.
You are absolutely right on that. And my piggyback on that is the way that NPR talks about this guy. NPR specifically, because I think it's probably the only news source that I'm like consuming every day and regularly just wanting to like throw my radio out the window because it's so fucking irritating. Mm-hmm. But they wake up every morning and they act as if this is a freshly born babe with no history, no patterns of behavior. And they describe all of his actions as such, as though like there's never, I never hear an NPR correspondent, like you've got correspondent number one. She's like, why do you think President Trump is shitting on himself on the front lawn of the White House? And the second correspondent is like, well, it's an interesting question. One of his strategies this election cycle, like you never come back to correspondent number two, who says, because he's fucking Donald Trump. Have you not been paying attention?
Yes.
Like, this guy is a pile of garbage. Everything he does is stupid. Like, why is that never anyone's response? No one ever gets exasperated.
Yes, right. And here's where they get totally flummoxed. He is very shallow. Here's what I can tell you. You could say he seems very stupid, and that is very true. But that is actually the result of his shallowness. He's kind of stupid. He got D's in school. He wasn't meant for the way the world is set up, but he was rich, and so he skated on his personality. So he's all personality, where he can tell a joke, and so because he can tell a joke and people think he's funny, then everyone thinks therefore he must have enough intelligence to be a deep human being and the president of the United States. But he has only focused on on having a personality his entire life, not a good personality, just a vivid personality. And so he's not well read. He's been too busy socializing and just sort of pursuing sensations and developing that toxic narcissistic charisma that draws people in and makes people think there's more of a there than there actually is. There is no there, and this is what the news refuses to. This is the bait the news takes every single time.
There's a term for what you're describing, Brendan.
Oh, what's that?
Sociopath.
Ah, yes, he's a sociopath.
The talented Mr. Ripley. He is nothing but a shell.
He's a shell, a very well-crafted shell. I mean, it's so obvious to we, like, liberal coasties. We're like, ugh, that is the worst person at the party. I would never want to spend time with that guy.
Never.
But, yeah, to certain people in this country, for some reason, that looks like genius. Like, that is to, dare I say, dim people, that's what genius looks like.
Yeah, is that because he's just like strictly because he's pissing on the people that they also would wish that they could piss on?
Maybe it's having swollen enemies. I mean, it's having swollen amygdalas and having an enemy, and the delicious feeling of us versus them that that the dim gravitate towards.
Yeah, but he's the them. That's what I can never understand.
Exactly.
He's the them.
He's
so
not
diabolical.
The us. Yeah.
He's so far from the us.
Right. Exactly.
I guess he's white. He's white. That's why he's the us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But he also has that aspirant thing where he's like a millionaire, like they all eventually will be. And so we must protect our precious billionaires at the ballot box.
Yeah.
Like there could be a measure, like a referendum that gives healthcare just to rural Republicans, and they'll be like, no, thank you. Q sent me. No. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
I might disagree with you there. If it said only rural Republicans will have universal health care, and this can never go to black people, people of color, immigrants, anyone who makes more than, $80,000 a year. Well, no, we should include the rich. The rich should get it too, because they like the rich.
Yeah, this is Denmark for the rich, after all.
If you were to limit it and just say, like, here's the benefit that all, like, lower middle income white people get, then they would sign up in droves.
I think it would be a tough sell.
They would be like, oh, well, maybe so. You're not as much of I guess I'm a little bit more of an optimist than you are.
I think it's a government issue. Like they would not trust the government to
They would trust the government if it was Donald Trump. If it was the government that they saw reflected in themselves, they'll take any sort of socialism that comes to them as long as it's got the right face on it.
Speaking of
I don't
that,
think it's social. I think the only reason they don't like socialism is because their Peters at the top are telling them you don't like socialism. And they're like, yeah, we don't like socialism.
Right.
And if they're like, now you like socialism, they'd be like, yeah, now we like socialism. I don't know why they're all Sylvester Stallone.
As long as it doesn't help the people they perceive as getting by easier than them.
Yes, exactly. That's like literally that is the top issue.
Yeah.
That is the number one issue that they're concerned about. How are others going to fail? Like, how are others going to not get this thing?
I saw the best description of conservative thinking I've ever heard in my entire life, and it is this. Conservatives believe the following. There should be in-groups that are protected by the law but not bound by it, and there are out-groups that are bound by the law but not protected by it.
Yes. I read that too. Right in this very moment, I'm trying to wrap my head around what it means. Go into that a little bit deeper because I think it is a really astute point.
In groups protected by the law but not bound by it can show up in the Michigan State House or the Wisconsin State House with AR-15s screaming in any minority state legislature members' faces they can find and act very threatening and insane, but they are protected by the Second Amendment. But they are not bound by the law or bound by common decency. They are protected. And then outgroups...
Because they get anything they want.
Right.
The in-group gets what they want.
Right. And these dumb lawyers who wave their guns, pointed their guns with their finger resting on the trigger at BLM protesters who are walking by their house.
Right.
And then there are outgroups like BLM protesters who are peaceful and not armed, who are bound by the law but not protected by it. So they can be shot and they are not protected by the law that the police would come and defend them for that. You know what I mean? So there are these outgroups, which is everyone but Republicans, who must obey all laws but not enjoy the benefit of being protected by any laws at all.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And I think this goes into this jibes with the First Amendment arguments, which are constantly being bandied about by these people as if like they care about everyone's freedom of speech, which is not true. They only care about their group's freedom of speech.
Right. Exactly.
Like you see this Tom Cotton.
Oh, that son of a bitch.
Very, very unfairly treated by the failing New York Times. I will throw it. This guy. First, he proposes this amendment or something or bill or I don't know what it is. Like I don't know what this guy's proposing out here on Capitol Hill, whatever they do with their times. But it's some sort of thing saying that the 1619 Project will not be taught in schools.
Oh, right.
And then a day later, he's got this bill saying that colleges free speech should be that Milo Yiannopoulos should be able to go to any college he wants to and give his toxic speech on how much he hates everyone who isn't Milo Yiannopoulos. So like he's very concerned about what's happening on campus because he sees that as being anti-Republican, anti-conservative, but any other narrative he wants to squelch.
Yes. Yeah.
He's not interested in any other point of view being articulated. And that, my friend, is not being a First Amendment warrior.
It's the capacity for white self-pity that is so pronounced in the Republican Party.
There you go.
That is
there you go.
Just incredible. I went to the...
Our story isn't being told enough, Brendan.
Right, exactly.
People don't know enough about white people in history.
I went to the Capitol Hill once with Oscar, and we sat in the House of Representatives. And you know how they have to take turns, all the members sitting as the person who bangs the gavel and who's like speaker, who's like stand-in speaker or whatever. They have all these like pro forma parliamentary rules or whatever. Anyway, Tom Cotton, there was like three people in there, and one person was giving kind of a silent or a quiet speech, and it just sounded like echoey mumbo jumbo. And Tom Cotton was sitting in the speaker's seat, just looking at his phone, playing space goofballs, just being,
Oh God.
just shirking his duty as a member of Congress because he's such a d-bag. And if only I was sitting above him. This is the same day that we sat behind Bill O'Reilly, and I could have fucking flicked that motherfucker's ear. Oh, fucking Bill O'Reilly.
Oh my God! You should
embarrassment to all
hit him
Irish
over the head
people.
with a loofah.
Exactly right. Hey, can you hold this thing? Hand him a loofah.
Do you think people are just like showing up at at Bill O'Reilly's house and like handing him loofahs? Just
Dear
to be
God,
dicks?
I hope so. Loofahs, did they grow on trees or did they grow in the ocean?
That's a good question. I don't know where a loofah comes from.
I think they come from the ocean, which is a bummer because it would be nice to plant a loofah tree outside of Bill O'Reilly's house.
looks like you're nuts. A little callback from last episode.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
Loofah tree.
So we have other
yes.
things. You're coming around to Joe. You're coming around to Joe Biden.
I don't know that I'm coming around to Joe Biden in terms of any of his politics. Well, okay. So my feeling on Joe Biden, which has always been my feeling and which will continue to be my feeling until he proves me wrong, is that we're just at a point in history where he'll have to, like, whoever the president is will have to rise to the occasion. Like, I think when people say he's a centrist, like, that is true. But I think more than anything, he's a politician. Like, he is a pure politician.
Absolutely.
He is not an ideologue. He doesn't give a shit really about anything except he's waiting for for the people to be like, this is what we want. And then Joe Biden will be like, okay, all right, I guess that's what we'll do. Like, I feel like that's what he is. He doesn't seem, I mean, all these motherfuckers are too influenced by money. That's just the way our politics is built. And that's a sad state of affairs.
People have spoken.
Yes.
People say what they want. Look, I've been doing this for 30 years. People say what they want all the time, and people look. People are gonna do. I'm gonna do what people want.
Yeah. See, there you go. I like that you've turned him into some kind of like Jimmy Cagney character.
Look,
listen, see,
here's a plan. See. I feel sort of the same way. I see on Facebook the sort of the fringier. I am definitely like a card carrying member of the lunatic fringe of the left, but I see my cohort on Facebook being like, fucking Biden, blah blah blah, and I'm like, guys. He's going to be there for one term. Not now. Now is not the time to take down the fucking like, we fucking need this. Get this guy, get this other idiot out. You can survive 4 years of centrism much better than you survive these last 4 years. And then his vice president, who will be much more liberal than him, will take over, or someone, or whatever.
Yes.
Like, or the AOC will be old enough. Something. But the point is, shut the fuck up and sit down. He's being very uncontroversial right now, which is fine. Just like we have to be very calm on the left and just wait a little bit and not get shrill.
Yes. I'm totally with you there. And I think, I just lost my train of thought. Wait, okay, come back.
And my headphones fell off at the exact same time.
That was perfect.
That was a blip in the Matrix, if there ever was one.
Yeah, something just went radically wrong on Earth 9.
I hate Earth 9.
Fucking Earth 9.
Wow.
These guys.
How did we fuck up so bad? Was it masturbating in church? Did that put me into this dimension?
That was definitely a strong part of it. But that did make me think about another topic real quick that I want to throw in here. Do you think aliens walk among us? We're learning all of this information about alien, like now, have you seen this New York Times thing where they're like, yes, we found wreckage from an alien spacecraft.
Are you shitting me? In the New York Times? What? Wait,
you
what?
didn't see this?
No.
This is like last week. There's this article where they're gonna publish all these findings on UFOs. First of all, like they sent out the Air Force released those videos like a year ago or whatever.
And no one paid any attention because they're too busy wondering about the Panama Papers and when all those rich people are going to go to jail.
Right. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. People are really, really hawking on that. Yeah. So then there's a thing in the New York Times where it was like, I forget, the CIA or someone was like, we cannot confirm or not confirm that we have found the wreckage of an alien spacecraft. And it was all like Hello? Really? So my question is, are they already here? Do aliens walk among us? Because I started watching this Jeffrey Epstein documentary last night, and that guy's got the weirdest face I've ever seen on a human.
It's the kind of face that from 4 billion light years they would try and figure. I think this is what a human man looks like.
Yes.
But let's give him just a little more chin, just to really put a cherry on top.
Yes, his upper lip is above your nose.
It's him and Jay Leno. Like, they have chins for days and days.
Yeah, it's unreal. Yeah. Oh, Jay Leno is definitely an alien.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we can figure it out. There's something skewed in the as the beams go out into space. People's from their lips to the bottom of their chin gets longer in the imagery.
Yes, but so this totally makes sense to me that Donald Trump would be an alien, because he's like a creature in human skin.
Yeah.
I mean, his face is even falling off. He's like, so it's like hard to look at.
He's beta.
And yeah, he absolutely. And as you mentioned, he feels nothing, he knows nothing. He's an empty vessel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. It's like, what's that movie with the guy?
And he's not afraid of COVID. He has no fear of COVID, because aliens can't catch COVID. Come on.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, maybe he's a thetan, and maybe the Scientologists were right all along.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past them.
They have beautiful buildings.
Wait, what's the movie with the guy?
Oh, I'm often told they look like this actor, British fella, Being There.
Oh, Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers.
Yes.
Being There. It's like that, where the guy just watched TV as a butler his whole life, and then walks out in the world as an empty vessel, and people project onto him anything they want, because he's just a cipher.
Oh, yeah. He is definitely evil Chauncey Gardner. Donald Trump is... I'm shocked that movie has not gotten more attention. It is such a parable for our times. Except Chauncey Gardner is good and does good things. That was like
it's an optimistic view of the world.
Yeah. Jerzy Krasinski, or whoever wrote that, was like a little bit too optimistic.
Yep.
Like when the idiot gets in the White House, he will be good. Was like...
Oh, yeah.
That was the 70s. There you go. That's like...
Patty Chayefsky? Is that who it was?
Oh, maybe that was it. Yeah, I think you might be right. Jerzy Krasinski, what did he write?
I have no idea.
Painted Bird or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm mixing up.
Wait, no, because wasn't he a painter? I think Jersey. I could be wrong. I have no idea.
I don't know. But Brendan, this is a perfect segue to our new segment.
Yes, certainly.
Which is Dadception.
This is Houston, contact with a test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. 1.
Dadception. This is Oscar. I just called you Oscar. Wow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wow. That's reverse Oedipal. So I definitely feel different. It's not like calling your wife Mom. Have you ever called Sarah Mom by accident?
I don't know if I've done Mom, but I've definitely called her Hazel quite a few times, and that feels a little weird to me when I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally haven't called Emily Mom or anything either.
No, of course. Who would? How weird.
She definitely is totally fine with it when I do.
Yes. Mommy. As long Mom, I think maybe is a little bit more. You can get away with that before Mommy.
Yeah, Mommy. Yeah, that's intense. Yeah, that's true. That's going to be my argument. Look.
Yeah.
I didn't just accidentally call you Mommy.
Exactly. Yes.
And by the way, I'm portraying that as if it happens all the time. It happened, I think, half of one time in 10 years.
I don't know why you're
I feel
so
very
defensive right now.
all the time. I know. I feel like
thou dost protest
really
way too much, brother.
I know. And actually, this is actually great for Dadception for a number of reasons. But anyway,
okay.
So Dadception, our new segment. This is about ways we are becoming our parents.
Yes.
And or cycles we want to interrupt in our children so that they don't also become like our parents and thus us.
I love that it's just a typical Dad Gene segment in which there are like 7,000 topics that are really all kind of bundled into one. It's like, and it's also a breakfast food.
Exactly. It's a floor wax and a dessert topping.
This is a great area of inquiry. I will say that I'm a little squeamish about it, Brendan, because my parents are listeners.
Of course. And they're lovely people. I am huge fans of both your mom and your dad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kiss their asses. I don't want to peter them too much. But
You could simply talk about ways that you're becoming them without necessarily talking about cycles you want to interrupt.
okay, well, that's true. But I also, in some ways, have to be like, yeah. I mean, I guess you could look at this in a positive light, right? Like maybe there are things from your parents that you would want to become.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure they're there somewhere.
I can go first, and
Go for it.
That this will, and hopefully this may prime your pump, as they say.
Yeah.
As they say in
Pump my
certain
prime.
themed nightclubs.
Some places that gentlemen like to visit. Okay.
Here's the thing: my mom and I are both 7s on the Enneagram.
Okay, tell me what that means.
That means we're like enthusiasts. 7 is the enthusiast. We're like very excited participants in the world. And at first blush, you might think, "Oh, that's great," and it is. It has led to a life of adventure and good times and a lot of bonhomie on a daily basis.
A lot of Beach Boys songs.
What's that?
A lot of Beach Boys songs.
A lot of Beach Boys songs.
Yeah.
And so sure,
Swinging
great.
back.
And so
Yeah.
I actually, it's hard to know what to ascribe to necessarily the way I was raised versus the fact that we were both on the 7s on the Enneagram. Or am I a 7 because she was a 7 and she's that influential? Who knows? We cannot know. This
Nature,
cannot be
nurture.
known. Yes.
Constant question.
Constant questions. But here's the thing. I have grown to admire people who can say no to anything and can draw any boundary whatsoever.
Yes. Oh, that's very impressive.
Yeah, I can't at all. Last night, my tinnitus was kicking. Like I couldn't hear a fucking thing, just roaring and buzzing. And I got in bed and I was just like, I'd been hanging out with Oscar and trying to pretend that I was fine, but I was actually like deaf and angry about it all. And I got in bed and Emily was like, "Hey, you want to have a check-in?" Because we do these little check-ins, which I recommend for a marriage. Like he's in bed, we get in bed, we talk. Each one talks for 5 minutes about how they're doing. She's like, "You want to have a
wait, but let me just, can I just simulate what it sounded like?
Yeah.
I'll be Emily in this conversation.
Okay.
Do you want to have a check-in?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. But I would add,
Is that what it felt like? Yeah.
it's like,
Let's talk. Do you want to talk?
that's exactly. That is precisely what it sounded like. It's like being radar on MASH in World War II or Korean War, and like trying to listen over the intercom to people who are experiencing ordnance around them, being like, 40 minutes north. So anyway, she's like, "Do you want to have a check-in?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, yeah, okay. How are you doing?" And she was like, "You can also say no." She said to me, "It's okay to say no when you don't want to do something." She had to spell out for me because compulsively I can't. You know what I mean? And so that's a problem. And so I want for him the ability. And I've also always been like, and if you say yes to all the little things, it means you have to say no to big things. So I think I have missed out on major professional opportunities because I was accepting minor social opportunities too much, and I was just too booked up, and I couldn't say no to little things. So I wound up accidentally flaking on big things that could have been major game changers. So I want for Oscar a different thing he doesn't just go to the party because he was invited. He can be like, "No, fuck you. I'm writing a paper and it's due tomorrow." I would go to the party, get drunk, and then try to write the paper in the morning and then get a C. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to teach people how to respond to you too, right? So like you're teaching them that you're a pushover, that you'll just do anything, you'll go along for the game.
Exactly.
And if you don't do that, then you can get away with so much more. You can be just so much more of an asshole. And the few times that you agree, people are like falling all over themselves to see you there.
Right, exactly. And what do I need?
Brendan's here? Brendan came?
Yes.
What? It's Brendan night, everybody. We're going to declare this entire evening Brendan's evening because Brendan came.
Right. Go to the parties they don't expect you at, and don't go to the parties they expect you at.
That's good. Yeah, that's very Hollywood advice, I feel like.
Yeah, it probably is.
That's how to succeed in Hollywood.
And what do I need? Friends? Fuck people.
Yeah.
Fuck everyone.
I mean, well, let's there will never be a party again. So let's just caveat things with that. When people are listening to this in 2040, they'll be like, "Party." Party? What is party? Social?
The not
heard that
floating in gelatinous ooze?
Yeah, we're never gonna socialize again, ever.
Never.
It's
That's
all
okay.
done.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, that's a good Spite Club, actually, is people declaring the end of things. Like, COVID is the fucking exemplar number one. I mean, 9/11 kicked it off with the death of irony, but
Oh, yeah.
every day there's a new thing that's never going to be the same again, thanks to COVID.
Grace and something. The editor of Spy Magazine.
Under fire.
Grace and...
Graydon Carter?
Graydon, yeah, that's it, yeah. He's the one
That
who said it.
motherfucker apparently was a Jeffrey Epstein enabler. This guy.
Oh, yes! I read that and I couldn't believe it because I loved Spy Magazine in the 80s
Spy
and 90s.
was great. Spy was great. But I mean, you look at this guy. He's wearing an ascot. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean...
Ain't no good coming out of an ascot.
Unless it was an ironic ascot. I mean, if he's so much a foremost authority on irony that he can declare its death and then wear an ascot afterwards.
That's fair.
What about you?
Okay, so you're just realizing that you're incapable of saying no.
Yeah, drawing any boundary at all. I have an abandonment complex. So does my mom. Her mom died when she was young. My dad died when I was young. So I just want Oscar to be able to draw a fucking boundary and live inside of it and be like, yep.
That's very fair. I am, so my thing that would be, I'm hoping to not do to my children. This is not something that I hope they won't do, but something I hope that I will not be able to do to my children, which I think my parents are guilty of, and probably all parents are guilty of in some respects, is looking at your children as an extension of yourself. And not like they can be a representative of you, as I was talking about last week. Like, I'm somewhat squeamish about my child having long hair because he is a representative of my philosophy, and that I'm okay with. Like there is something you want to teach your children to be like. To represent you and themselves well, right? To show your values in the world. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But I think I fall into this trap all too often, and I feel like my parents I have felt this from my parents, that our children aren't actual people. Like, there's not an independent brain in their heads, right? They're just like these creatures that are in our lives, but we're not in their lives. And like, my parents, there are things that they pigeonholed me as at age 10 that I've never been able to escape. Like, I'm the kid who loses things, which is fair. Like, as a kid, I didn't know where things were, but now I have gotten past that, and I generally tend to know where things are in the world. And my parents will come visit and they'll be like, he always loses things. That's just Jeff. And I'm like, no, I don't. And like, when they're around, I tend to become the person that they saw me as at age 10 as well.
Yes. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you're like somehow, especially in New York, like every time my parents came to visit, things would just go off the rails somehow. Like, we would be like stuck on a bus for 2 hours, or we wouldn't know how to get somewhere, and we'd end up venturing into like Murder Row or something like that. And they're just like, yeah, that's Jeff. Never has his shit together. But then, like, when they weren't around, my shit was locked down tight. I was so on top of things. You know?
Yes. But yeah, when my mom comes to visit, it brings with it a certain amount of just instability in being able to, which makes sense because one has a visitor, but there's that extra added thing where one regresses when they're around their parents. I see Emily regress slightly too, like become a sort of slightly different person when her parents are here. And I become a slightly different person. There's something, you have to sort of be your entire self from the beginning of time to now and still be all of it all at once. And it's kind of exhausting.
Yes, it is so exhausting. And can I, let me piggyback on that real quick. Something I noticed listening to last week's episode, Brendan, is that you have refound a Boston accent in Solitude.
No shit.
Yeah, I've literally never noticed that you had an accent before. Like, it just doesn't come up much. Last week, you were all over the place with your Bostonisms.
No fucking way. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Kid,
Yeah.
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but you had a little bit of like Boston Brahmin in there too. You're like, I swear you almost said can't
I
at
can't.
one point.
Yeah. I can't go to the bathroom because of my swollen. Oh my God, I'm grasping for words. What
Yeah.
the fuck is wrong with me?
I don't know. You're back in Boston. You're a hood rat again. No,
Yeah.
no, what? A dot rat.
Dot rat.
Dot rat. Is that can that be our URL? Dadjeans.rat. Does that exist?
That is pretty spectacular.
Oh my God, amazing. Shall we move on to another new segment?
Oh yes. And why don't you introduce it?
The segment is called I, a Parent, Just Don't Understand.
I, a parent, just don't understand how the culture of the youth has gotten so out of hand. They watch trash and listen to shitty bands, and I, who am a parent, I just don't understand.
We know that parents just don't understand, but now we're going to take it from the other side of the coin. And mine is really stupid, so I'm just going to throw it out there real quick, and then you can jump in with your probably highly well thought out addition to this segment. I'll tell you something I don't understand, Brendan. It's fucking Spongebog Squarepants.
Oh, bring it.
This guy is the most irritating thing I've ever seen in my life. His voice is irritating. He's ugly. The whole cartoon is ugly as sin. He's stupid. Everyone on this show is stupid. They've got this Squidward guy who's like some kind of stand-in for the audience, but he's just loathsome. It's just like teaching children to hate things. That's what SpongeBob SquarePants is. It's like everyone's stupid. The world sucks. Just be dumb and blissful and ignore all input. That's the message of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Wow. I have watched not enough SpongeBob to understand the universe of it, although it has a bizarrely gigantic online following of adults who love it.
Oh, it's huge. It's it's a juggernaut. It's like the biggest children's phenomenon since like the Peanuts. Like I can't even think about something that would be comparable to SpongeBob. You know, it's like it's huge, and like now kids are growing up with SpongeBob in their head, and that's how they're approaching the world, and they're feeding their children SpongeBob.
I've always felt like it was a derivative Ren and Stimpy. Like Ren and Stimpy walked so that SpongeBob could run, basically.
It's certainly a kiss and cousin, I think, of Ren and Stimpy. Like I think it took what Ren and Stimpy did, and they sort of scrubbed out all of the adult innuendo.
Right, yes.
So we're not aimed at college stoners, but college stoners will watch us because now college stoners are don't realize that they can have like Irony died on 9/11, so they don't realize that that's something that they can be a part of.
Right, and they can just enjoy sincerity without being embarrassed.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe this is my problem. I don't know. I mean, I know tons of people who love it. I mean, fucking Kyle Jarrow, our good friend of the pod, wrote the SpongeBob SquarePants musical.
Like, oh yeah, that's right.
Know? So there must be something good to it, but I've just never seen its charm. I don't get it, man.
Man, I feel you.
My kids don't really watch it, so I'm not saying this as like from some perspective of someone who's just inundated with too much SpongeBob, but I think it was just on TV the other day, and I looked at it and I was like, "There's that fucking SpongeBob SquarePants again." How is this our world? SpongeBob SquarePants everywhere you turn. Right. I mean, at best, that should be a Beanie and Cecil. That should be like a something that's kind of there in the corner of your mind, and you don't really think about it that much.
Right.
It shouldn't be a fucking juggernaut that is never ending.
Yes.
That you see everywhere you turn.
God, what is their secret, those bastards?
I don't know, but Doug Kenny, man, the voice of SpongeBob has made bank.
Yeah, that must be incredible to print that kind of money.
It must. What is your a parent, just don't understand? I don't know how I'm going to do the theme song for this this segment.
It feels like it'd be like a Will Smith Parents Just Don't Understand ripoff.
Well, of course, but yeah. Well, I'll see what I can do.
Oh, it already was a riff on that, and I was just congratulating myself for coming up with that. Oh, and now I get it. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
This is a great name. This name of this segment is very good.
Clever.
That's very clever. I'm so clever that it took me until right now talking about it and having the idea as if I had it to have it.
Well, see, if irony hadn't died on 9/11, you would have just gotten that right away.
Just gotten it right away.
Okay, more.
So for me, it is the pursuit of sensations.
Okay.
A parent, I just don't understand people who just have to go, like, you go to the club and you dance around, and the dancing feeling makes you feel all something. I don't know. It's the feeling famous or feel, and the posting of selfies on the Instagram, all these kind of things.
Yes.
It's the pursuit of the sensation of feeling famous, or even the sensation of feeling connected. I feel like in the pursuit of it, it becomes a lie, and all the way in which we interact with our phones, and all the ways that we even interact with, like, fucking restaurants and television and movies and mass media and each other on so many levels in this godforsaken fuckhole of a country involves the pursuit of sensations. And you achieve that sensation. Even sex, like, sex should be about giving another person a sensation, but so often I think in our primitive motherfucking culture, it's just about have the sensation and then, you know what I mean? Like that is the most microcosmic version of this, where it's sort of this self-serving thing where you're not connected to the other person, you're not connected to the world at large. You're just going to fill your sensation trough with whatever, like, paisley, rainbowy, strawberry shortcake bullshit you can get from this thing, and then go to the next thing and fill your sensation bucket with that. Because on the other side of after you're done, like, I'm at a restaurant with my friends, like, after that fucking sensation, when you satisfied that enough times, I'm at a bar, you get to, oh, actually there are ideas. And then you get and then it's like, oh, ideas are actually interesting. And then you get past ideas and you're like, oh, or there are humanity, you know what I mean? Like, there are larger pursuits and sensations and fucking loud cars that drive by my house. I drive a loud car. Like, fuck you and your fucking muffler, you know what I mean? That is such sensation pursuit on the deepest level of being like, I'm in a video game. That makes me motherfucking insane.
Yeah.
I was a sensation pursuer until I realized it, and then I was like, oh my god, I've been an asshole for 10 years, you know what I mean? And then I grew out of it. So fucking snap out of it and stop pursuing sensations and start pursuing ideas, and then start pursuing the deliciously complicated act of being a human in the human race.
Is this connected to the endless scroll, like that we're just in the endless scroll right now? I mean, I think part of what you're saying is probably generational to or not generational, but just like that's the age that you do that. Like, you do that, right? When you're younger, you're just like looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
But also we're all just like trapped in this endless scroll where it's like the next tweet is going to be the one that changes my life. And that's sort of like, that's sort of writ large right now, in that we're not just pursuing those sensations, we're like documenting them.
Yes, right, exactly.
So,
and making it a part of our sort of life stories. I have this.
Yes.
I have this thing that our listeners can't see. This. Have I ever talked to you about this?
I don't know if I want to know what that is. Brendan is producing something that's pretty grotesque right now.
It is
and I don't know where he pulled it from.
It is a timed safe.
Okay.
So that when you, I put my phone in there and then set a dial, because there are PhDs in Silicon Valley who spend all day, every day, making sure that the scroll stays addictive. And it's not, and I feel like it's not even that the next tweet will change my life. It's the next tweet is what I must do next. Like, it's not even, it's become so subconscious that it's not even an active choice
There's
anymore.
no goal. There's no goal to it. It is the scroll is the point.
How did they figure the fuck out how, like, using user-generated content, how to, like, that they can't control, how to make that addictive, I think is just a feat of such brilliance and terror. And so, therefore, I have that thing. So I put my fucking phone in that thing, and I'm like, no more phone until 12 hours from now. And I just turn it off. And that is the only way any human beings can possibly survive, because otherwise your head is so deep in the ass of the matrix that you're just smelling you're just licking
Ew,
prostate.
no, don't.
You're licking
Stop.
digital
Just
prostate.
Whatever you're about to say. Stop. I'm the voice of the audience right now.
Speaking of
we
that,
didn't need to
you know
hear
how
that
we have
part.
weirdly high numbers on some of our episodes? I figured out what it is. It's the title of the episode. So we had peppered with testicles was one of our episodes, and the popularity of that episode is off the charts. As is sex something. One with sex in it and one with testicles in it are the two episodes that are massive, like just downloaded exponentially more often than the rest of our episodes.
Oh, that's fascinating. So maybe we'll have to start making sexy titles for every episode.
We're gonna have to.
I need to talk to you about this off the air. I figured out another weird quirk about that today. But I totally agree with you. We're on the same page on everything, literally everything that comes out of your mouth, Brendan. I agree with.
Same.
I just want to ride it like a surfboard. There's no conflict. We're putting proof to the lie, or however that saying goes.
Sure.
That you need conflict to make an entertaining thing, because we have no conflict. We agree on everything.
I agree with everything you say.
I disagree with that. Let's move into Spite Club.
Spite Club.
I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! Spy Club! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! Spy Club! Fuck!
Spite Club. I'll tell you, my Spite Club, Brendan, is the language of COVID. Like just the words that we have to use now. A lot of them just make me like cringe. Like COVID. I'm glad that actually COVID, I think, is a very it's a good name for a disease. Like it has a proper amount of like heft to it. Like it's not like if it was called like bubble dots or something like that, then I'd be like, oh fuck, we have to say bubble dots. Like, oh, my wife caught bubble dots, you know. Like, no, COVID, it's the ka word is nice. It's like a vid. Like it feels impressive, and it has the heft to it that it needs, but
feels biological.
Yes, but speaking of bubbles, this word bubble, like, are you expanding your bubble? Like that I have to say that and think about that and hear that, like people talking about like bringing others into their bubble. Like it just that just makes me cringe. Yeah. Social distancing, like I don't like that term. I mean I get it as a concept, but that it has become speech is really irritating to me. Like we're social distancing, that I have to hear that all the time and think about like just that like concept, and means something different to everyone else. And like if you say like we're gonna have a socially distanced play date, like I just it's too much. It's too many syllables. Like just for that to be a thing that I'm having to think about all the time. Yeah. Are there any others? I can't think of offhand.
Oh, let's see. Yeah. So social. That is the big one. Rona would be one that I think everyone's trying to make it cool.
Right. Although the first time I saw that, I got to say I chuckled.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I do like. I like it as long as it's not really in use. I think as a one-time meme.
One clever meme lord can say Rona, and we'll be like, oh yeah, that meme that says Rona, that was funny that one person did. But beyond, it can't be something we all now say Rona.
No, we absolutely could not, especially because people are fucking dying left and right from this thing. I mean, have some fucking respect.
It's like the Black Dahlia thing, right? Exactly. It's not a fucking Halloween costume, but people, it involves the tragic death of a person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or quarantine portmanteaus. Quarantos.
Oh yeah, quarantos. That's pretty good actually. Quarantinis. Yeah, that's irritating.
Yeah. Yeah, these were fine, like as we were stabilizing, but now I see them and I'm like, we're past that. Where now,
Yes.
now it's become like a serious thing, and it's our lives.
Yeah, and maybe it's because there's nothing fun about this. Like I think like maybe at some level all of these like cutesy terms they're denying the fucking horror show fact that the president of the United States and his enablers have committed crimes against humanity.
Yep.
And they need to be like hung like for what they've done. They need to be tried at The Hague, and they need to be like it is not, there's nothing funny about this. There's nothing cutesy.
Right.
We're trapped in hell because of one man and his fucking ego that has spread out to encompass the entire United States.
Yeah. And so many countries in South America who have been through this with the egos of men that were installed by the United States must be having such an interesting reaction looking at this and being like, inside I'm screaming, because what is happening to you has been done to us by you for decades.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And like, and I'm sure there's no satisfaction to it though.
Yeah, no, because decency is I have a limited experience of South America, but it strikes me as an extremely decent place where people are very decent to each other, as opposed to in this country where rugged individualism.
They actually have empathy.
Yeah, as opposed to like, could you please wear a mask? Blam blam, which is the American way.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh my God, which makes me very upset. Okay, my Spite Club.
Yes,
is a very bougie one. Emily and I have been trying to refinance our house because, these are desperate times and we're sitting on a little bit of equity, and it might be nice.
They call for desperate measures.
They call for desperate measures. And so we need to save money, et cetera, et cetera. And we went through this when we actually bought the house also. But bank underwriters have never heard of freelancers, and they don't understand what freelancing is. This entire economy has been moving towards a gig economy for years, and bank underwriters are like, what is gig economy? And they are people who just like graduated college and then signed up with a bank career and don't understand why people just don't check every box the way they do. And so they're like, well, I get very nervous because I don't understand. You made that much money last year and the year before, but and you've made half that much money up until June this year, but who's to say? You know what I mean? Like, I understand we can't use these W-2s because they're over. But the tax code changed 2 fucking years ago, and they made it so that all people who hire freelancers now want you to fill out W-2s instead of 1099s, but then the W-2s are over, and then you can't apply them when you're dealing with fucking loans and banks, because banks are like, well, the job's over, so you don't have a currently paying W-2 job, so this doesn't count, so we can't include it in your income. And so there's no reason at all to be a freelancer in the United States. This country is not set up for freelancers, and it is very hostile towards freelancers, yet it forces many of its citizens to be freelancers and drive for Ubers and do the gig economy thing without ever changing. So the only people this country actually fucking belongs to are people who punch every box. They graduate, they like go to church, and they graduate college, and they get a job at a bank, and then they fucking get married at 27, and then they start their IRA and their 401k, and they have 4 kids, and they live in the suburbs, and they drive a giant vehicle, and they kill the earth, and they don't invent a fucking thing, and they get anything they want, and then they vote
and that
Republican.
becomes everyone.
Yeah,
to them that's everyone.
To them that's everyone, and that's quote unquote normal. But here's the fucking thing: if anyone ever uses the word normal, they can go fuck themselves, as opposed to, well, what to me is normal.
Yes.
If anyone doesn't qualify their use of the word normal, fuck you, get out of my life, I never want to see you again.
Yeah, fair. I know what you mean, man. We went through that when we were buying our house, because I was a freelancer at the time. And I don't know how we made it through that process, but somehow they took pity on us or something, or maybe it was just the right time economically and we were able to buy a house. But the amount of proving that you have value to the world is just insane. Like the number of things you need to dredge up to show them that you are a real person. And like you said, this is a giant phenomenon. You're not the only freelancer, especially in Los Angeles, especially in Hollywood, the home where every job is a gig.
Right.
You know, like you would think that out here they would be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're work gig to gig. That we understand that. That's 80% of the population.
Exactly. Yet instead they're like, what is California? What are movies? What is freelancing? Who is gig? They don't.
Right.
I fucking hate underwriters, and I fucking hate this economy. And I don't think
hear
it's.
you.
I don't think this economy is worth dying for. I know that puts me in the minority in this country, but I don't think people should have to die for this economy. Fuck this economy.
Absolutely. And that's a great segue. Again, I don't know how this is happening, but it's a wonderful segue into my fatherly advice.
Oh, excellent.
Help me, Daddy. Fatherly advice. Help me, Daddy. Fatherly advice.
My fatherly advice is exactly what you're saying. You are not a representative sample.
Yes.
Everyone, this is a giant, everyone is guilty of this on Facebook. That I think, therefore everyone thinks.
Yep.
Like Americans think blank because I am an American and I think blank. And like, I feel like that's 95% of the arguments on Facebook is being like, Americans agree with me.
Yes.
They agree with me.
The American people want blank.
Yes. You don't. Yes. Just stop saying that. That is just bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
Like, unless you're going to follow that up with a poll, that you have like a printout of the poll. Like the American people think this. See, look at this. 9,500 people were surveyed across 50 states, and now I can say with solidity, with some sort of accuracy, that this is what the American people believe. But that's not how it works. People are just always assuming that because I think a thing, it must mean that everyone thinks it. And like, you can't, if you disagree with me, then that means that you're disagreeing with some larger point that is, I'm just pulling out of my ass.
Yes, exactly. And I think when certain people, maybe on the right, say the American people want blank, their emphasis with it, which they're not placing, is on the word American, not on the word people. So they mean...
And what it means to them.
Yeah, the American people who I consider Americans versus everyone else who doesn't agree with me think blank.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that is...
Exactly. And the other people don't exist. Like, they just don't exist to you.
I don't want to toot my own horn, Jeff. But
please,
when I am teaching in the college, there's a phenomenon when you're teaching acting where acting teachers can really become kind of like toxic gurus and cults of personality, and so I make it my job as I teach the youngsters to interrupt that as much as I possibly can, and so by saying, and remember, I can go fuck myself.
Sure.
And that is the only way anyone should impart any information, and be like, now listen, I can go fuck myself. What do I know? But I think blah blah.
I'll tell you, I hear that, and I think that's noble of you. There's definitely a phenomenon I have found that some people do that and don't really mean it. Like, especially if you're in a position of power.
Oh,
you're
interesting.
Like, if you're like, hey, tell me how I'm doing.
Oh, gross.
Right. And people are going to be like, good. I think you're doing really good.
Great. This is a good talk.
Yeah. Like, who's going to be like, no, you're full of shit. You can go fuck yourself, Brendan Hughes.
Right.
Like, and if you are that teacher, like, God bless you. And I don't know how to demonstrate that. Like, but I wonder how much honesty people are willing to confront that with.
Right. Well, I back it up with my self-loathing.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's a good place to go. So I don't know if you are not a representative sample is fatherly advice, but maybe do not think of yourself as a representative sample. Like, when you have an opinion, think, okay, this is my opinion. This is where I am in the world based on all of the things that have influenced me as a human being. Mm-hmm. Is everyone else there? Is there anything like factual about this? Is there anything like beyond just an opinion about this that could center me and tell me more about my place in the world, as opposed to me just like diving all the way into that like thing that I've decided is going to be true and accepting it as truth.
Yes. Right.
There you go.
Wonderful.
What's your fatherly advice, friend?
I had a major realization about things that I feel I'm daunted by, tasks where I'm like, ugh, like today I have to clean the pergola. I want to clean the pergola. It's an absolute disaster in there. It's just terrible. It looks like a bomb went off, and I need to just get out there and do it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be awful. But I've realized recently I shouldn't think about future tasks that might be a drag as being tasks that are a drag. I shouldn't evaluate them based on what I'm going to be doing. I should evaluate them based on how much time they will take to do. So if you look at a sink full of dishes, you're like, that's only actually going to take like 7 minutes. And then you're like, oh, 7 minutes. I can do something in 7 minutes, and then I'll feel a lot better about myself. And so if you look at everything like, it only takes about 20 minutes. And I've noticed that people I know who are happiest usually say, oh, it only took so many minutes to do this thing. Like, I did this thing, but it only took 10 minutes. People who speak like that in terms of time and in terms of the diminutiveness of drags taking certain time, blah, blah, blah. It's amazing. That is a complete turnaround psychologically. I wrote the paper. Ultimately, it only took like 5 hours. And the real trick was, you got to start it early and blah, blah, it only took 5 hours. Right? So you just have to spread out this 5 hours, et cetera. And what an accomplishment. Look, I wrote this 24-page paper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That would take 15 hours, but you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
Anyway, so evaluate tasks based on the time they will actually take versus the effort you perceive they will require.
That's very interesting. I mean, that's people who email me back immediately. Like, some of the most successful people I know will email me back immediately.
Amen. Yep.
Like, because they're just like, there's a thing, it popped into my life, and now I will get it out because that checks a box.
Yes.
Like, instead of being like, that email I have to write, and any email, you can't write an email that takes you more than 5 minutes. If you're doing something wrong. If you're writing emails that take you longer than 5 minutes.
Right. And why is the RAM burning so hot? Therefore, one has to look at oneself and be like, what's up with all the RAM spinning on writing a fucking email that takes 30 seconds and then your balls out of your court?
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do the fucking thing. Because the more time you spend thinking about it, the worse your response is going to be. Because you're going to be thinking, you're not going to be thinking about the thing that you're responding to.
Amen.
You're just going to be writing the email that you had in your head. It's like I learned recently, I don't know the truth to this, and I don't know how one can say that this is true. I don't know what the research was behind it, but apparently when you have a memory, your memory is not your memory. Your memory is the last time you had that memory.
Yes, right.
Right?
And you're photocopying a photocopy.
Yes, exactly. Which, again, I don't know how they determine that. But it's a fascinating thought that you're not, like, it's really just, it's inception. It's dadception. It's just a dream of a dream of a dream, right? That you think is your life, and you're just fucking wrong because you've just dreamed it. Now you're on the 1000th iteration of that dream, and you're so far beyond where you started that everything in your past is a lie.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we're done.
Jeff.
We've solved it.
How lovely to speak with you again.
Yes, you as well, my friend. I guess we'll say goodnight to our listeners.
Oh, good night, listeners.
Good night.